I trusted her completely, believed every word she said, until one mistake revealed the secret she thought would stay buried forever. That's what they tell you about betrayal, isn't it? That you'll see it coming. That there will be signs, red flags waving in your face, like warnings you were too stupid to notice. But that's not how it happened for me. For me, it was a Tuesday. A perfectly ordinary Tuesday in September, when my entire world cracked open like an egg, and everything I thought I knew about my life just spilled out onto the floor. My name is David. I'm 43 years old, and up until 8 months ago, I thought I had it all figured out. I had a wife I adored, a decent job as a senior project manager at a construction firm in Denver, and a life that felt stable. Not perfect, but stable. And after everything I'd been through, a messy divorce in my early 30s, years of lonely apartments and takeout dinners, the slow crawl back to believing I could trust someone again, stable felt like a miracle. Sarah came into my life like spring after a long winter. We met at a friend's barbecue 5 years ago. She was laughing at something, her head thrown back, auburn hair catching the sunlight, and I remember thinking she looked like someone who didn't carry heavy things. Someone light, free. We started talking about nothing important. Colorado weather, hiking trails, her work as a dental hygienist, and by the end of the night, I had her number and a feeling in my chest I hadn't felt in years. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you love completely, you know exactly how I felt in those early days. You know that intoxicating mixture of hope and terror, that voice in your head warning you not to get too attached while your heart is already writing wedding vows. Comment below and tell me where you're watching this from, because I want to know I'm not alone in this. And if you've got your own story of betrayal and revenge, stick around. Check the description box below for more stories like this one. Because what happened to me, you won't believe where it goes. Sarah and I moved in together after a year. Got married after 2. It wasn't rushed. It felt right. She had this way of making our little townhouse feel like home, always buying fresh flowers for the kitchen table, always playing music while she cooked. She'd dance around in her socks, pulling me into these spontaneous, slow dances that made me laugh even when I was stressed about work. She called me her rock. I called her my light. But here's the thing about light. It can blind you. The cracks started so small, I convinced myself they weren't there. She'd become protective of her phone, angling it away when I walked by, taking calls in the other room. When I'd ask who it was, she'd say it was her sister or a coworker, and I believe her, because why wouldn't I? She started working late more often, coming home at 8 or 9 instead of 6. She joined a gym and suddenly had a whole new friend group I never met. She talked about them, Jessica, Amanda, Kelly, but they remained names without faces, people who existed only in her stories. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I was projecting my ex-wife's infidelity onto Sarah, punishing her for crimes she didn't commit. So I pushed those doubts down, swallowed them like bitter pills, and tried to be the supportive husband. I asked about her day. I kissed her goodnight, even when she smelled like unfamiliar cologne. I ignored the growing distance between us, because acknowledging it felt like admitting I'd made the same mistake twice. Then came that Tuesday in September. I'd left my laptop at home, and I had a presentation due by noon. I called Sarah during my morning commute, asking if she could bring it to my office. She said she couldn't. She had a patient scheduled and couldn't get away. So I turned around, drove back home, my coffee getting cold in the cup holder, while I mentally rearranged my morning. The house was quiet when I walked in. Sarah's car was still in the driveway, which was strange since she said she had to be at work. I figured maybe she was running behind, getting ready upstairs. I grabbed my laptop in the home office, and that's when I saw it, her laptop, sitting open on the desk, screen glowing. I should have walked away, should have grabbed my computer and left, but something made me stop. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was the universe finally giving me permission to see what I'd been refusing to look at. Her email was open, and right there at the top of the inbox was a message with a subject line that made my blood run cold. Can't wait to see you tonight. Beautiful. My hand was shaking when I clicked it. The email was from someone named Tyler. The message was short, filthy, and so casual it was clear this wasn't new. There were inside jokes, pet names, references to hotel rooms and stolen afternoons. I scrolled down and there were more, dozens more, messages going back 18 months. A year and a half of lies, stacked up in neat little rows with timestamps and subject lines that read like pornography. I couldn't breathe. The room tilted sideways, and I had to sit down before my legs gave out. 18 months. That meant it started just 6 months after our wedding, while I was planning our first anniversary trip. She was planning afternoons with someone named Tyler. I heard footsteps on the stairs. Sarah, coming down, probably wondering why I was taking so long. I closed the laptop, grabbed mine, and walked out of that office like a ghost. She met me in the hallway, freshly showered, smiling. "Did you find it?" she asked. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw a stranger. This woman who I'd held through nightmares, who I'd built a life with, who I'd trusted with every vulnerable part of myself. She was a stranger, a liar, a person I didn't know at all. "Yeah," I said, my voice flat. "I found it." She didn't catch the double meaning, just kissed me on the cheek and told me to have a good day at work. I walked to my car, drove to the office, and sat in the parking garage for 45 minutes, staring at nothing, my laptop unopened on the passenger seat. If you think you know how this story ends, trust me, you don't, because what I did next changed everything. But I couldn't do it yet. Not that day. That day, I just sat in my car and felt my heart break into pieces so small I wasn't sure I'd ever be able to put them back together. I didn't confront her that night. I know what you're thinking. How could I not? How could I sit across from her at dinner, watch her tell me about her day, listen to her lie about where she'd been and say nothing? But here's what they don't tell you about betrayal. Sometimes the shock is so profound that you can't react. You just freeze. Your brain goes into this weird survival mode where you're watching everything from outside your own body, like you're a character in someone else's movie. I pushed the food around my plate, while Sarah talked about a difficult root canal she'd assisted with. She was so animated, so believable. Her eyes sparkled when she laughed. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand, asked me why I seemed distant. I told her I was stressed about work. She believed me because that's what people do when they're lying. They assume everyone else is lying too. That night, I lay awake beside her, listening to her breathe. She fell asleep instantly, the way innocent people do, while I stared at the ceiling and replayed every moment of our relationship, looking for the truth hiding beneath the lies. When did it start? How many times had she done this? Did she laugh about me with him? Did they mock the stupid husband who worked late while they were tangled up in hotel sheets? The questions ate at me like acid. Over the next few days, I became someone I didn't recognize. I started checking her phone when she was in the shower. I went through her car, found receipts from restaurants we'd never been to together, parking stubs from parts of the city she had no reason to visit. I created a fake email account and started documenting everything. Screenshots, forwarded messages, photos of evidence. I was building a case like a prosecutor, collecting ammunition for a confrontation I wasn't ready to have. But I also started watching her, really watching her. And that's when I noticed something that changed the entire game. Sarah wasn't just having an affair. She was living a double life so elaborate, so carefully constructed, that it must have taken years to build. She had a second phone. I found it hidden in a box of tampons in the bathroom cabinet, a place she knew I'd never look. It was a cheap burner, but was full of messages, photos, entire conversations with Tyler, but also with other people, women with names I recognized. Jessica, Amanda, Kelly, her gym friends. Except they weren't talking about workouts. They were talking about their affairs, their husbands, strategies for not getting caught. It was a support group for cheaters, a sorority of betrayal. And Sarah? She was the president. I read message after message where she gave advice to these women, told them how to hide credit card statements, how to explain away late nights, how to act normal at home. She talked about me like I was a problem to be managed, an obstacle in her real life. She called me sweet and trusting in a way that made those words sound like insults. She said I was easy to fool because I wanted so badly to believe her. She was right. I had wanted to believe her. I'd wanted it so desperately that I'd ignore my own instincts, silence the voice in my head that had been trying to warn me for months. But here's what Sarah didn't know. I wasn't the same man she'd married. That man had died the moment I opened her laptop. The person who remained was someone colder, more calculating. Someone who understood that if you're going to expose a liar, you need to let them think they're still winning. So I stopped snooping, stopped acting distant. I became the perfect husband again, attentive, loving, trusting. I planned date nights, bought her flowers, told her I loved her, and every time she smiled and said back, I felt a piece of my soul calcify into something harder, something that didn't hurt anymore, because it couldn't feel anything at all. I also started my own investigation. I hired a private investigator named Janet, a woman in her 50s who'd seen every variation of human betrayal and wasn't impressed by any of it. She was expensive, but I didn't care. I wanted proof, not just emails and texts, but photos, videos, documentation that would hold up in a divorce court and destroy any sympathy Sarah might try to claim. Janet was good at her job. Within 2 weeks, she had everything. Photos of Sarah and Tyler entering hotels, videos of them kissing in parking lots, time-stamped evidence of every lie, every fake work meeting, every evening at the gym. Tyler wasn't even impressive, mid-40s, married himself, worked as a pharmaceutical sales rep. Just another mediocre man willing to help destroy 2 marriages for some motel sex and the ego boost of making someone cheat. But I also learned something else, something that made my blood run cold all over again. Sarah was planning to leave me. Not for Tyler. He was never going to leave his wife, and she knew it. No, Sarah was planning to divorce me, take half of everything I'd worked for, and start fresh with a new identity in a new city. She'd been squirreling away money for months, opening credit cards in her name, building an escape fund. The affair wasn't her endgame. It was just entertainment while she executed her exit strategy. She was going to ruin me and disappear, and I would have spent years wondering what I'd done wrong. That's when I knew I couldn't just confront her. Confrontation was what she expected, what she prepared for. She had her story ready. She'd cry, apologize, blame me for not paying enough attention to her, maybe even accuse me of being controlling or emotionally distant. She'd play the victim, turn this around, and I'd end up feeling guilty for catching her. No, I needed something better than confrontation. I needed revenge so complete, so perfectly executed, that she'd never see it coming until it was too late to stop. And that's exactly what I gave her. If you're still watching, hit that subscribe button, because this is where the story gets really interesting. What I did next took weeks to plan. But when I finally pulled the trigger, the fallout was more devastating than I ever imagined. Check the description box below for more stories of revenge and betrayal, because you're going to want to see how this plays out. Planning someone's downfall is a full-time job, and I was working overtime. Every morning, I'd wake up beside Sarah, kiss her goodbye, and go to work like nothing had changed. But inside, I was running calculations, mapping out every variable, anticipating every possible reaction. I couldn't afford to make a mistake. One slip, one moment where she sensed something was wrong, and the whole thing would fall apart. The key was timing. I needed to wait for the perfect moment. A moment where the maximum number of people would witness her humiliation, where there'd be no room for damage control or spinning the narrative. I needed her lies exposed in a way that was so public, so undeniable, that she couldn't talk her way out of it. That opportunity came in the form of her 38th birthday party. Sarah had been planning it for months. A big celebration at our house with all her friends, her family, co-workers from the dental office. She'd invited over 50 people, turned it into this whole production with catering and a DJ and a photo booth. She was so excited about it, kept talking about how it was going to be the party of the year. I helped her plan every detail, played the supportive husband, offering suggestions, handling logistics, making sure everything would be perfect. What Sarah didn't know was that I was planning my own surprise, one that would turn her celebration into the worst night of her life. The party was on a Saturday in early October. People started arriving around 7, filling our house with noise and laughter. Sarah looked beautiful. She'd gotten her hair done, wore a new dress, Spent an hour on her makeup. She worked the room like a politician, hugging everyone, posing for photos, playing the role of the happy wife celebrating with her devoted husband. I played my part too. Brought her drinks, told embarrassing stories about her that made everyone laugh, kept my arm around her waist like I couldn't bear to be separated from her. Tyler was there. Sarah had introduced him as a friend from a gym, and watching them pretend not to know each other too well was almost funny. Almost around 9 o'clock, after everyone had eaten and the alcohol was flowing freely, I clinked a fork against my glass and asked for everyone's attention. Sarah looked at me, surprised but delighted, probably thinking I was going to give some sweet toast about how much I loved her. I just want to thank everyone for coming tonight to celebrate Sarah. I started, my voice steady and warm. My incredible wife, the woman who makes every day brighter just by being in it. People odd. Sarah's eyes got misty. She blew me a kiss. Sarah and I have been married for 3 years now, and I can honestly say they've been educational. I smiled, and a few people chuckled, thinking it was a joke about learning to compromise in marriage. See, I've learned so much about who Sarah really is, about the person behind the smile, the woman I share my life with. I paused, let the moment breathe, and I thought tonight would be the perfect opportunity to share some of that with all of you. Sarah's smile faltered just slightly. She couldn't quite read my tone, couldn't tell if this was going somewhere sweet or somewhere else. I pulled out my phone. I actually put together a little slideshow, some memories from our relationship. Would someone mind dimming the lights? Sarah's sister ran to the switch, and the room darkened. I connected my phone to the TV, and the screen came to life. The first few photos were innocent. Pictures from our wedding, from vacations, from ordinary moments of our life together. People made appreciative noises. Sarah relaxed, thinking this was just a normal birthday tribute. Then the photos changed. The next image was a screenshot of an email. Tyler's email. Can't wait to see you tonight, beautiful. The timestamp clearly visible. April 15th, 6 months after our wedding. The room went silent. Sarah's face drained of color. Oh, that's strange, I said, my voice still casual. How did that get in there? The next photo was Sarah and Tyler entering a hotel. Then another. Each image more damning than the last. Screenshots of their text conversations. Photos from Janet's surveillance. A timeline showing 18 months of lies, all displayed in high definition on our living room TV. Sarah was frozen, her mouth open, eyes wide with horror. She looked like she was trying to disappear, tried to will herself into another dimension where this wasn't happening. But I wasn't done. The slideshow continued, showing not just her affair with Tyler, but evidence of the second phone, screenshots of her messages with her cheater support group, complete with her advice on how to hide affairs from clueless husbands, copies of bank statements showing her secret account, the money she'd been stashing away for her escape plan. The room erupted. People were gasping, shouting, pulling out their own phones to record what was happening. Sarah's mother was crying. Her father looked like he wanted to kill someone. Probably me for humiliating his daughter, but maybe Tyler, who was trying to slip out the back door until 2 of my friends blocked his path. Sarah finally found her voice. David, please. Please what? I asked, my tone still eerily calm. Please stop showing everyone who you really are. Please protect your reputation. Please let you keep pretending you're a good person. She tried to run, to push through the crowd and escape, but there was nowhere to go. Everyone was staring at her, phones out, already posting to social media, already texting other people. By morning, everyone in our social circle would know. Her workplace would know. Her family would never look at her the same way. Tyler's wife, who I'd secretly invited, arrived just as the slideshow ended. Janet had been in contact with her for weeks, preparing her for this moment. She walked through the door, took one look at the frozen scene, and understood immediately what had happened. Tyler, she said, her voice cutting through the chaos like a knife. Get your things. We're done. He tried to explain, to minimize, to claim it wasn't what it looked like, but she shut him down with a look that could have petrified stone. I turned back to Sarah. I already filed for divorce. The papers are on the kitchen counter. My lawyer will be in touch. I want you out of this house tonight. David, we can talk about this, she started, reaching for me. I stepped back. There's nothing to talk about. You spent 18 months lying to me, planning to leave me, stealing from me. You don't get to talk anymore. The party cleared out fast after that. People grabbed their coats and left without saying goodbye, eager to escape the uncomfortable scene, and probably even more eager to tell everyone else what they'd witnessed. Sarah's friends, the real ones, the ones who weren't part of her cheater club, looked at her with disgust and disappointment. Her family tried to talk to her, but she was sobbing too hard to respond. By midnight, the house was empty except for Sarah, frantically packing a suitcase while crying hysterically, and me, sitting on the couch, watching her destroy the life she'd built on lies. She left just after 1 a.m, her car loaded with whatever she could grab, her face blotchy and swollen from crying. She tried one last time to apologize, to explain, to make me understand that she made a mistake, but she really did love me. I closed the door in her face. The house was quiet then, empty. I sat in that silence for a long time, waiting to feel something, satisfaction, triumph, relief. But all I felt was tired, bone deep, exhausted, tired. Revenge isn't what they show you in movies. It's not clean or satisfying. It doesn't heal the wound. It just is a thing you do because you can't think of what else to do. Because the pain has to go somewhere, and this seems like the most logical place to put it, but the story doesn't end there. Because what I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that exposing Sarah would set off a chain reaction that would blow up my entire life in ways I never saw coming. The next 3 months felt like living in the aftermath of a bomb. The video of Sarah's birthday party went viral. Not global viral, but Denver viral. The kind where everyone in your social and professional circle has seen it, talk about it, formed an opinion about it. I became that guy who exposed his cheating wife at her own birthday party. Some people thought I was a hero. Others thought I was cruel, that I'd taken it too far, that public humiliation was never justified no matter what someone had done. I didn't care about their opinions. I was too busy trying to put my life back together. The divorce moved quickly. Sarah didn't fight it. Couldn't fight it. Really, not with a mountain of evidence I compiled. She tried to claim she deserved half of everything because Colorado is a no-fault divorce state. But her lawyer took one look at the documentation of her hidden accounts and theft and advised her to take whatever settlement I offered. We split the assets, and she walked away with far less than she planned. Tyler's divorce was Messier. His wife took him for everything. The house, the cars, full custody of their 2 kids. Last I heard, he was living in a studio apartment and working a second job to cover child support and alimony. Sarah reached out to him after everything exploded, looking for support or maybe another affair partner to distract her from the wreckage of her life. He blocked her number. Sarah herself disappeared from social media entirely, moved to Fort Collins, started over with a new job at a different dental practice where nobody knew her story. Her friends from the cheater support group scattered too, probably terrified their own secrets would be exposed next. A few of them sent me threatening messages, calling me abusive and vindictive, but they didn't have any ground to stand on. They'd been caught, and they knew it. For a while, I felt justified, vindicated, like I'd won something important. But victory feels a lot like emptiness when you're living alone in a house full of memories, eating takeout in front of the TV, waking up in a bed that's too big for one person. Then, about 2 months after the party, I got a call that changed everything. It was from a woman named Linda. She said she'd seen the video of Sarah's birthday party, recognized Sarah from a long time ago, and needed to talk to me about something important. She wouldn't say more over the phone, just asked if we could meet for coffee. I almost said no. I was done with drama, done with digging into Sarah's past, done with a whole toxic mess. But something in Linda's voice made me curious. So I agreed. We met at a Starbucks on a gray Tuesday morning. Linda was in her 60s, well-dressed, with kind eyes that had seen too much. She ordered tea, sat across from me, and got straight to the point. Sarah isn't her real name, she said. Her real name is Jennifer Patterson. And 20 years ago, she destroyed my family. I sat there, my coffee getting cold, while Linda told me a story that made me question everything I thought I knew. 20 years ago, When Sarah Jennifer was 19, she had an affair with Linda's husband, a high school teacher, where Jennifer was a student aide. The affair went on for months before Linda found out. When she did, she confronted them both. Jennifer claimed she was in love with Linda's husband, that they had a real connection, that Linda should just let him go so they could be together. Linda's husband, faced with the consequences of his actions, broke it off immediately, told Jennifer it was a mistake, that he loved his wife and wanted to fix his marriage. Jennifer didn't take it well. She accused him of sexual abuse, claimed he groomed her, manipulated her, forced her into a relationship. It wasn't true. Linda showed me messages Jennifer had sent, describing how she pursued him, how she'd initiated everything. But by the time the truth came out, the damage was done. Linda's husband lost his job, his reputation, his teaching license. They had to move to a different state to escape the scandal. It destroyed him, Linda said quietly. He was never the same. Developed depression, anxiety. He died 5 years ago from a heart attack, but I've always believed the stress from what she did to him contributed. She slid a folder across the table. Inside were photos of Jennifer Patterson, Sarah, at 19. The same face, same smile, but younger. More innocent looking, which I guess was the point. When I saw that video of her birthday party, I recognized her immediately. Linda continued, I wanted you to know who you really married. Not just a cheater, but someone with a pattern. Someone who's been doing this, manipulating people, destroying lives, moving on to the next victim for decades. I couldn't speak. My throat had closed up, my mind racing with implications. I thought about contacting you earlier, Linda said, but I figured you had enough to deal with. Then I thought, maybe you deserve to know the truth. Maybe you deserve to know that what she did to you, she's done before, and she'll do it again to someone else if nobody stops her. I went home and did what I should have done before I ever married Sarah. I ran a background check. A real one, not the cursory Google search I'd done when we first met. And Linda was right. Sarah Patterson, Jennifer Patterson, Sarah Mitchell, she'd used different names in different cities. Always moving, always reinventing herself, always leaving destruction in her wake. There were records of restraining orders, small claim suits, accusations of theft and fraud that never went anywhere because she'd disappeared before anyone could hold her accountable. My wife hadn't just been a cheater. She'd been a con artist, a sociopath, someone who moved through life taking what she wanted and leaving ruins behind. And I'd almost let her get away with it. But here's where the story takes another turn, because Linda's revelation did something unexpected. It made me realize that exposing Sarah at her birthday party wasn't enough. She'd just move again, change her name again, find another victim. The cycle would continue unless someone stopped it permanently. So I made a decision. I took everything I had, all the documentation, all the evidence from Janet's investigation, all the information Linda had given me about Sarah's past, and I created a website, a simple, factual website with Sarah's photo, her real name, her aliases, and a timeline of her destruction. I included public records, court documents, testimonies from her victims. Nothing illegal, nothing defamatory, just facts. Then I SEO optimized it, made sure that anyone who Googled her name, any of her names, would find it on the first page of results. Made sure that any future employer, any future romantic partner, any future victim would know exactly who they were dealing with. I didn't do it for revenge. Not anymore. I did it to protect whoever came next. To make sure that Sarah's pattern of destruction had consequences that followed her, no matter where she ran or what name she used. The website went live on a Thursday. By Monday, I'd received emails from 3 other people Sarah had victimized over the years. By the end of the month, there were 12. We're considering a class action lawsuit now. Not for money. Most of us know we'll never see a dime, but for accountability, for justice, for the satisfaction of knowing that one person's selfishness can't just evaporate into the air like it never happened. If you made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. Hit that subscribe button and check the description box below, because what happened next, the final chapter, shows that sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone. Sometimes it's about making sure the truth can't stay buried. 6 months after Sarah's birthday party, I sat in a therapist's office and cried for the first time since everything fell apart. Dr. Patricia Morrison, Patty, as she insisted I call her, was a specialist in trauma and betrayal. I'd resisted therapy for months, convinced I was handling everything fine, that I'd already processed my anger and moved on. But my sister Emma, who'd watched me go through the whole nightmare, finally convinced me to go. "You exposed Sarah," Emma said. "You got your revenge. You protected future victims. You did everything right. So why do you still look like you're dying inside?" She was right. I'd won every battle, got the divorce on my terms, destroyed Sarah's ability to hurt anyone else, even started dating again, nothing serious, just coffee dates and conversations that reminded me I could connect with people who weren't lying to me. But I didn't feel victorious. I felt hollow. Patty listened to my whole story without interrupting. When I finished, she asked me a question that cracked me open like nothing else had. "David, when you were planning Sarah's public exposure, when you were building that website, when you were doing all of this, what were you hoping it would make you feel?" "I don't know," I said. "Satisfied? Vindicated? And do you feel those things?" I sat with that question for a long moment. "No," I finally admitted. "I just feel tired. Like I spent 6 months obsessing over someone who didn't deserve that much of my energy." Patty nodded. "Revenge is seductive because it promises closure. It tells us that if we can just make the other person suffer the way they made us suffer, we'll feel better. But revenge isn't closure. It's just more pain wrapped in a different package." "So I shouldn't have done it?" I asked, suddenly defensive. "I should have just let her get away with it?" "I didn't say that," Patty replied calmly. "What you did with the website, creating a record to protect other people, that's not revenge. That's justice. That's documentation. But the birthday party, the public humiliation, that was revenge. And I'm not saying it was wrong, David. I'm saying it probably didn't give you what you were really looking for." She was right. The birthday party had felt good for about 48 hours. Then it just felt like another thing to regret, another moment I couldn't take back, another piece of my humanity I'd traded for a fleeting sense of power. So what was I looking for? I asked. "Probably the same thing everyone looks for after betrayal." Patty said, "You want to understand why. Why you weren't enough. Why she lied. Why she chose to hurt you when she could have just left. But those answers aren't in revenge, David. They're in acceptance." Over the next few months, I learned what acceptance actually meant. It didn't mean forgiving Sarah or pretending what she did was okay. It meant accepting that I'd never fully understand her choices because her mind didn't work like mine. She was capable of compartmentalization and deception in ways I couldn't fathom. And that wasn't a reflection of my worth. It was a reflection of who she was. I also learned something else. I'd been defining myself by what had been done to me. David, the betrayed husband. David, the guy who got his revenge. David, the victim who fought back. But that's not who I wanted to be. Those were things that happened to me, not who I was. So I started rebuilding. Not my life, my sense of self. I quit my job at the construction firm and started my own contracting business. Something I'd wanted to do for years, but had been too afraid to risk while I was trying to maintain stability for Sarah. I reconnected with old friends I'd lost touch with during my marriage, joined a hiking group, started reading again, something I'd stopped doing, because Sarah always had the TV on. I even started dating seriously. Her name was Rebecca, a middle school science teacher with a quick laugh and zero tolerance for bullshit. She knew my whole story before our third date, because I decided I was done hiding things, done presenting a curated version of myself to avoid scaring people away. If my baggage was too much, better know early. Rebecca didn't run. She listened, asked thoughtful questions, and then told me about her own ex-husband who'd stolen money from their joint account to support a gambling addiction. We bonded over our scars. Two people who'd been burned but weren't willing to let that burn define the rest of our lives. Around this time, I got another call that brought everything full circle. It was from Sarah. She'd seen the website, seen the growing community of people she'd hurt over the years, all sharing their stories, all holding her accountable. She was calling to threaten legal action, to demand I take it down, to claim I was ruining her life. I let her talk, let her vent and threaten and cry. And when she was done, I said something I never thought I'd be able to say. Sarah, I'm sorry for the birthday party. Not because you didn't deserve to be exposed, but because I did it to hurt you, and that's not who I want to be. The website stays up because people deserve to know the truth before they get involved with you. But the public humiliation, that was about my pain, not about justice. And I regret it. She was silent for a moment. Then, you ruined my life. No, I said quietly. You did that. I just made sure people could see what you've been hiding. She hung up. I haven't heard from her since. The website is still up. It's been expanded to include stories from 14 people now, spanning 2 decades of Sarah's destruction. Her current employer found it and fired her. She's moved again, this time to Arizona, using another variation of her name. But the internet doesn't forget. The truth doesn't disappear just because you change your address. As for me, I'm doing better than I have in years. My business is thriving. Rebecca and I are talking about moving in together, slowly, carefully, with full transparency and couples counseling, because we're both determined not to repeat our past mistakes. I still have bad days, moments where I spiral into anger or grief or doubt, but they're fewer now, farther apart. I learned something important through all of this. Revenge might give you a moment of satisfaction, but it won't give you peace. Peace comes from accepting what happened, learning from it, and choosing to build something better rather than destroying something worse. It comes from recognizing that the person who hurt you doesn't deserve to occupy your thoughts anymore, doesn't deserve the energy you've been spending on hating them. It comes from realizing that the best revenge isn't destruction. It's becoming someone better than you were before they broke you. I think about Sarah sometimes. Wonder if she ever feels genuine remorse, if she's capable of it, if she lies awake at night thinking about the lives she's damaged. But those thoughts don't consume me anymore. They're just passing clouds, here and then gone. Last month, I got an email from a young guy named Austin. He'd been dating someone who seemed perfect, too perfect, he said, and something made him Google her name. He found the website, found Sarah's photo under one of her aliases. The woman he'd been dating for 3 months was Sarah, now calling herself Jennifer Morrison, working at a dental office in Scottsdale. He thanked me for saving him from what would have been, in his words, the biggest mistake of my life. He'd already broken things off, already blocked her number, already started the process of moving on before he got in too deep. That email meant more to me than the entire birthday party spectacle, because it proved that what I'd done, the documentation, the website, the truth-telling, actually mattered. It protected someone. It stopped the cycle, at least for one person. Maybe that's what justice really is. Not the big, dramatic moment where the villain gets their comeuppance. Just the quiet accumulation of consequences. The slow but steady process of making sure the truth can't stay buried forever. I also heard from Tyler's ex-wife, Margaret. She reached out to thank me for what I'd done at the party. Said it gave her the courage to leave a marriage that had been broken for years. She's remarried now, to someone who treats her the way she deserves. Her kids are doing well. She's happy. You didn't just expose Sarah that night, she told me over coffee one afternoon. You set a lot of people free, me included. I hadn't thought about it that way. I'd been so focused on my own pain, my own need for vindication, that I hadn't considered how many other people were trapped in the web of Sarah's lies. Tyler's wife, Tyler's kids, even Tyler himself, though I have significantly less sympathy for him. Sometimes destruction is necessary. Sometimes you have to burn something down before you can build something new in its place. But you have to be careful that you're not burning yourself down in the process. That's what I almost did. In my quest to destroy Sarah, I almost destroyed David. Almost let bitterness and anger turn me into someone as cruel as she was, just in a different way. The birthday party was the edge of that cliff, the moment where I could have kept falling into darkness or chosen to step back into the light. I chose the light. Barely, but I chose it. If you're still watching, if you've stayed with me through this whole story, I want to tell you something important. Betrayal will change you. There's no avoiding that. Someone you trusted completely will shatter that trust. and you'll never be quite the same person you were before. But you get to choose what kind of change it is. You can become bitter, closed off, incapable of trusting anyone ever again. Or you can become wiser, more careful, but still open to the possibility that not everyone is a liar. That love still exists, even if the person you gave it to didn't deserve it. I chose the second path. It's harder. It requires more courage than revenge ever did. But it's also the only path that leads somewhere worth going. Today is a Wednesday in April, and I'm sitting on my back porch with Rebecca, drinking coffee and watching the sunrise paint the mountains pink and gold. We're planning a trip to Moab next month, talking about adopting a dog, building a life together brick by careful brick, with foundations made of honesty instead of lies. I still have the evidence boxes stored in my attic, all of Janet's surveillance photos, all the emails and texts, all the documentation of Sarah's betrayal. Sometimes I think about throwing them away, but I'm not ready yet. Maybe someday. Maybe when the memories don't have any charge left. When they're just facts that happened to a different version of me in what feels like a different lifetime. The website is still up, and I check it occasionally to moderate comments and verify new stories. It's not about revenge anymore. It's about accountability. It's about making sure that people who move through the world hurting others can't do it indefinitely without consequences. Last week, I got an email from Sarah. Not a threatening one this time. Just a short message that said, "I'm in therapy now, working on understanding why I did what I did. I know you probably don't care, but I thought you should know. I'm sorry for everything." I read it 3 times. Try to figure out if it was genuine or just another manipulation. Ultimately decided it didn't matter. Whether Sarah changes or not, whether she means her apology or not, isn't my concern anymore. My concern is making sure that I keep moving forward, keep building this new life, keep choosing healing over hurt. I didn't respond or email, didn't block it either, just let it exist, acknowledged it internally and moved on. Because that's what acceptance looks like, not forgiveness. I may never fully forgive what she did, and that's okay, but acceptance, the ability to see what happened without it destroying me, the ability to acknowledge that Sarah exists somewhere in the world, probably still causing problems, and feel nothing about it except a distant sort of pity. She's trapped in a cycle she can't escape, moving from city to city, relationship to relationship, never able to build anything real. Because real things require honesty she's incapable of giving. That's her prison, and she's locked herself in it. My prison was different. Mine was built from anger and obsession, from spending every waking moment thinking about what she'd done and how to make her pay. But I found the key and I walked out, and now I'm standing in the sunlight wondering why I stayed in the dark so long. If you're going through something similar, if someone has betrayed you, destroyed your trust, made you question everything you thought you knew about love and loyalty, I want you to know something. You're going to survive this. You might not believe it right now, when the pain is fresh and overwhelming and all-consuming. But you will. And when you do survive it, you'll have a choice. You can spend the rest of your life making your betrayer pay, or you can spend it building something beautiful from the wreckage. Both paths have their appeal. Revenge feels good in the moment, but building something new, that feels good forever. I built a business I'm proud of, a relationship based on honesty and mutual respect, friendships that aren't tainted by secrets and lies, a life that's mine, not shared with someone who saw me as an obstacle or a resource to be exploited. Sarah took 3 years from me, 3 years of my life that I spent building what I thought was a marriage, but was actually just her waiting room, a place she killed time while planning her escape. I can't get those years back, but I can make sure the next 3 years, and the 3 after that, and all the years that follow, are spent on something real. That's my revenge in the end, not the birthday party, not the website, though that serves a purpose. My revenge is being happy without her, being whole without her, proving that she didn't break me, didn't ruin me, didn't destroy my ability to love and trust and hope. She tried. God knows she tried. But she failed. And that failure, my survival, my healing, my ability to wake up every morning and choose joy instead of bitterness, that's the only revenge that actually matters. So if you've been with me through this whole story, thank you. Thank you for listening. for caring, for taking the time to hear about the worst thing that ever happened to me and the best thing I built from it. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and check the description box below for more stories like this. Stories of betrayal and survival, of revenge and redemption, of people who got knocked down and chose to get back up. Comment below and tell me where you're watching from, what your story is, how you survive your own betrayal. Because we're all in this together, all of us who've had our trust shattered and had to figure out how to piece ourselves back together. And remember, the person who betrayed you doesn't get to write the rest of your story. You do, so make it a good one. Make it a story about survival and strength, and refusing to let one person's cruelty define your entire life. I trusted her completely, believed every word she said, until one mistake revealed the secret she thought would stay buried forever. That secret destroyed my marriage, but it didn't destroy me. And in the end, that's the only victory that matters.